Absolutely, 100%. Because one of the things I advise my clients with thyroid issues is to not do long hours of fasting. And if you are restricting overly, you're not supplying your body with enough calories, that can mess up your metabolism a lot. Because thyroid is like the main gland that controls your metabolism.
Welcome to the Binge Dietitian podcast. I'm Jonathan, and I'm here to help you end 24/7 food thoughts, binge eating, and actually enjoy life with food. This episode is for educational and informational purposes only, not to be substituted for medical or personalized advice. Check the link in the description for my recovery resources, and let's get straight to the episode. In this episode, I'm here to introduce a special guest, Pratima Nagaraj, and she specializes in hormone health, thyroid health, and so many other things. How about you tell us a bit more about yourself, Pratima, and what do you do?
Hey, Jonathan. First of all, I'm so excited to be here and thank you for inviting me. So I am a functional nutrition coach. I basically focus on holistic health and wellness for women. My specialty is in thyroid, gut, and hormone health. And I've actually been in health and wellness field for over 12 years now. I've done a variety of work, including mindset and nutrition. And I continue to focus on nutrition now, mainly because my journey kind of led me here, my personal journey. So I was struggling with thyroid issues and hormonal issues, endometriosis, autoimmune issues, all of which, of course, I couldn't get much help from the conventional medicine, the doctors, which led me to exploring the functional medicine and nutrition. And changing my diet and lifestyle, I was able to reverse all my chronic issues naturally. And that just inspired me to go ahead and help other women dealing with the same because, medications are just like a Band-Aid. They're really not fixing anything. And I wanted the world to know that there is a different possibility. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
That's amazing, Fatima. And how did you know that you had an issue with your thyroid?
That's interesting. So I struggled with symptoms for quite a few years before I was even diagnosed with my thyroid issues. So I used to feel a lot of fatigue. I used to have a lot of cold hands and feet. And I was also kind of putting on weight. I couldn't easily lose weight. And I also used to struggle getting pregnant. So I had some fertility issues. So, of course, when you have such issues, the basic tests that are done by your doctor include your TSH and, your hormone profile and stuff. And in fact, even then, nobody actually told me that I was hypothyroid or I had Hashimoto's because, first of all, doctors don't run full panel thyroid tests. And they saw my TSH was really high, but my T3 and T4 levels, my thyroid hormone levels, were normal. So I was told, oh, it's nothing. You come back if your T3, T4 levels go below and, then we'll put you on medication. So I continued to live with my symptoms. And when things got really difficult and they just kept getting worse, I saw a functional medicine practitioner who actually ran my full thyroid panel, including the thyroid antibodies, which is really crucial. And we found out that I had something called as Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid disorder where your immune system is attacking your own thyroid gland. So that took almost 5 years
Ah,
for me to actually get a diagnosis, which is ridiculous, but it's quite normal. I've known people who haven't had a proper diagnosis for years. And by then, it's pretty much already, it's spread in the body and things have become chronic. Whereas if you can catch it early, it's so easy to reverse it.
wow. So the most common tests, like you said, are the T3, T4, and the TSH. And is it just the antibodies? Is that what you need to find out if you have Hashimoto's, or what does the full panel look like?
So basically, what most doctors do is just test your TSH
Hmm.
and, just go by your TSH value. If it is more than 4.5, they say, oh, you're hypothyroid and let's get you on medication. And some of them do test T3 and T4 hormones along with TSH, which is still not sufficient because it's not giving you a full picture of what's happening with your thyroid. Along with TSH, T3, T4, you also need to test what we call as FT3, FT4, which is your free T3 hormone and the free T4 hormone. Mm, Just testing T3 is not enough because you need to know how much of that free hormone is actually flowing in your blood that your body can utilize. Your body cannot utilize T3. It needs it in the free T3 form. So that's something you need to be testing. That's the first thing. Then on top of that, you need to do additional tests, which are the antibodies, which is TPO, which is the thyroperoxidase antibody, and the thyroglobulin antibody. So these are like super important to test for autoimmune thyroid condition. Along with that, you also need to run something called as a reverse T3. So all of these tests comprise of a full thyroid panel. And unfortunately, conventional doctors don't run antibodies test. I've been to so many doctors who straight away tell me, oh, you don't need to test antibodies because, that's of no use. Even if you, and I insist, and sometimes they test it and they see my antibodies, they've seen that it's so high. And they just say, oh, we can't do anything about it. It's just you can't change the antibodies. So let's just leave it at that. So I don't blame them because they don't learn about it in medical school that you can actually reverse it through diet and lifestyle changes. So they don't know. So they don't just want to waste your money and, do additional tests. So this is super important. I think everybody who has any symptoms closely associated with a thyroid disorder should be running full panel thyroid tests because you can have completely normal TSH, T3, T4 and still have antibodies. So that's like a silent autoimmune disease running at the background that you may not know of.
Wow. And it might be a silly question, but why don't the doctors always do the full thyroid profile? Is it because it's expensive or something?
I mean, it could be because it's not covered. Oh, it's expensive, of course. The first thing is it's expensive. Secondly, I guess it may not be covered by the insurance, or it may be, or they may have to give an additional reason as to why they're running it. But I think from what I have perceived, it's because they don't know what to do if it comes positive.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, because medically, there's nothing you can do to bring down antibodies.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, taking thyroid medication, the levothyroxine or any form of T3 or T4 medication is not going to have an effect, not considerable effect on antibodies. It's only going to supply your body of the additional thyroid hormone it needs. So when you can't do much about it, what's the point testing? I guess that's why they don't really test. And I've had so many clients who, literally come crying to me saying, my doctor just doesn't test no matter how much I beg him or her.
Oh,
And all I say is go find another doctor, keep finding until you find someone who actually is willing to support you. And I've been through a similar journey. Even today in Singapore, if I want to go see a doctor and just I want to keep monitoring my thyroid antibodies to ensure that my Hashimoto's is still in remission, I have to struggle a lot to get them to recommend the test.
Ah, that's really interesting. What's the prevalence or like how common is Hashimoto's?
It's quite common. I would say almost 80% of the people who have thyroid disorders might have Hashimoto's, or
Wow.
it's the other way. So when you have hypothyroidism, the associated autoimmune is called Hashimoto's, and then there's the other form called Graves, which is associated with hyperthyroidism, and it's pretty common. And that's why I keep insisting that everybody should be testing it, because these days, I think it's become even worse because of the lifestyle that we are leading, the modern lifestyle. Our food habits have just increased the probability of people having Hashimoto's.
Okay, that's really interesting. So like even though they're autoimmune diseases, is it, am I correct that like it can be acquired through like poor, quote unquote, poor habits, or are you just like born with it?
No, it can be acquired. I mean, it can be genetic and you can totally acquire it. Like in my family, nobody had it and I've somehow acquired it. I've known a lot of people where it doesn't run in their family. So it can totally come from your lifestyle and food habits. And it takes quite a few years for it to develop, actually. So if you can catch it early, it'll be very easy to reverse it. Whereas if you wait, like when I found out I had Hashimoto's, my antibodies were like almost 500. They have to be below 60, the TPO
Wow.
antibodies, for it to be considered normal. So I've had people who come to me with antibodies over 1,000, 2,000.
Wow.
So it becomes all the more difficult to bring it into remission. Um, I think the most, there are a lot of factors that influence it, like your diet, of course, having a lot of processed foods, junk foods, and then having nutritional deficiencies, because then your thyroid doesn't have the raw materials to actually produce that thyroid hormone. And most importantly, your gut health. Because the gut is the seat, of the immune system. That more than 70% of our immune system lies in the gut, and Hashimoto's is not really a thyroid disorder. It's more of an immune system disorder. So it's an inflammatory condition, and inflammation stems from the gut. Immune issues stems from the gut, and because that's where the immune system lies majorly. So if you're not taking care of your diet and it's causing inflammation in the gut, and that happens on a daily basis for months and years, it can actually, kind of put your immune system on an overdrive, especially if you have things like food sensitivities. So a lot of people could be sensitive to, for example, gluten or dairy and soy. And if you're still eating that on a daily basis, your immune system is going to keep flagging that as like an intruder, or like something that's not desirable for the body, and attacking it. And that attack leads to inflammation, which becomes chronic in the long run. And inflammation is one of the major root causes of autoimmune disorders.
Wow. Because I did a couple of podcasts with a couple of gut health specialist dietitians. One is an IBS specialist dietitian. Another one is a colorectal dietitian, because most of our gut microbiome is in our colon, the large intestine. And they said, both of them actually, both said that consistent dieting, under eating, like periods of like binge eating restricting, like for example, eat nothing or very little like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then all of a sudden you get this intense craving to have only the hyper palatable foods, which would be your pizzas, crisps, brownies. You just like overloading. It's either feast or famine, and you're just doing it again and again and again. And they said that really, quote unquote, messes up your gut microbiome. So, do you think that would also like contribute to like binging and restricting very intensely? Would it contribute to poor thyroid health?
Absolutely, 100%. Because one of the things I advise my clients with thyroid issues is to not do long hours of fasting. And if you are restricting overly, you're not supplying your body with enough calories, that can mess up your metabolism a lot. Because thyroid is like the main gland that controls your metabolism. It regulates your body temperature, it influences your digestion, it triggers the production of hormones, and it kind of controls your menstrual cycle for women, especially. And if you are under eating and your metabolism is taking a hit, then 100% it's going to lead to a lot of thyroid issues, whether it mostly hypothyroidism, but it can be hypo or hyper. And if your restrictions leads to you consuming a lot of junk food later on, inflammatory foods, then that messes up your gut health, which again can lead to thyroid issues and hormonal issues and blood sugar imbalance and whatnot.
Hmm. I mean, what's some of us, it's easy for people to like have these intense cravings for like these hyper palatable foods like pizzas, brownies, and everything. Because after speaking with several other people in podcasts, is because they're restricting so much, they're avoiding it so much. So the only craving they have is like, the pizza, brownies, and it's the only thing you want. And you have completely like these highly nutritionally dense foods, like the broccoli, for example, or I'm just thinking like a million things in my mind, like things people would call good.
Avocado or healthy
Yeah,
fats
avocado,
or
healthy fats.
protein,
Yeah,
right?
it goes out of your window because you're only hyper fixated on this. So, what I was gonna ask is that if someone's like, like restricting and then just having these overeating or binge eating episodes for so long, what would you suggest? Like, would you suggest them to take a look at their thyroid health first, or would you, like change some dietary habits or both?
I would definitely check for thyroid health. I would definitely recommend running the full panel thyroid test because that itself will start telling you what's going on within your body
Good to hear.
with regards to your metabolism. And secondly, I would also recommend checking for blood sugar, imbalance. So that would be your fasting glucose, fasting insulin, which is going to tell you how your blood sugar is, kind of fluctuating because of restrictive diets. Because blood sugar imbalance can also impact your thyroid health.
Mm.
So, and it can also impact your hormone health. And of course, you can check your gut health as well. But that's going to be a little more maybe not so common because running stool tests can tell you a lot about your gut health.
By the way, just a quick break from the podcast to let you know of my free hunger regulation webinar series, which is in the link in the description of this podcast. There's also an ebook version if you're more of a reader than a watcher. This is the perfect resource I wish I had when I struggled with binge eating years ago, which is used to guide you from everything you need to know, from why we binge, what are the binge triggers, and the eating pattern to stop binge eating. Because when we've been struggling with binge eating for so long, you and your body lose touch of what normal hunger and normal fullness is. You're constantly on feast or famine mode. So head to the link in the description of this podcast for the free hunger regulation resources to have a clear game plan to tackle binge eating for good. Anyway, let's get straight back to the episode.
But there are a lot of symptoms that can actually tell you that you're having poor gut health. So I would actually focus on looking at those symptoms like bloating or constipation or diarrhea or, feeling like um, your your belly has ballooned up by the end of the day, even though you've not eaten, or waking up feeling like really heavy. So these are all some of the symptoms that can indicate poor gut health. So I would definitely look at thyroid, blood sugar, and gut. If you are someone who does a lot of restrictions or who kind of can't stay away from some of these inflammatory foods.
Hmm. And if you're in the podcast at the moment and you're a doctor, make sure you take note of Pratima's advice. And so going full circle, um, how so now that we recognize all these symptoms and everything, what did you do back then when you struggled with thyroid issues to get from you before, where you're like struggling with thyroid issues, low energy, weight gain? What did you do? Steps did you take to get from where you were to where you are now?
Great question. So there were a lot of steps, and it's not really like, you know, an easy one step solution that change your diet and everything is going to be okay. Um, like I said, it needs a holistic approach. And the first step in that is, of course, to change your diet. And if you are someone who is restricting a lot, who is used to, you know, binge eating or restricting, then I wouldn't recommend going like full on into changing your diet. I would definitely take it slow, like change one meal or add in like one healthy snack a day and take it really slow. But I started with my diet personally, and for a few weeks initially, I did like a low carb diet, but not really keto. But I went a little lower on my carbs and I started adding a lot more vegetables and healthy fats and quality protein in my diet. So my target was to balance my blood sugar because my insulin levels were quite high. So yeah, ensuring that I'm having balanced meals. That was like my primary target. And the next step was, of course, to fix all the nutritional deficiencies. So if somebody is actually restricting calories for a long time, they're restricting whatever, it's just not eating enough or not eating at all, I would also recommend testing nutrients. So getting like a complete micronutrient panel, which would be testing your vitamins and minerals, the essential ones like your B12, vitamin D, magnesium. Um, these are like the crucial minerals and vitamins that we really need for the production of hormones, for thyroid, for all the other female hormones. And if you're not eating enough, there's definitely going to be deficiencies. So running those tests and fixing that was my next step because I had a lot of deficiencies. I was deficient in vitamin A and copper and zinc and magnesium and selenium and vitamin B12. I had a long list of deficiencies.
Wow.
So that was my next step. So, I always loved getting my vitamins and minerals from natural food sources. But when you have deficiencies and when they are really low, when the levels are really low, you do have to go on supplements to bring up the levels higher. And the deficiencies were one of the causes of my chronic fatigue. So most people who have thyroid issues are going to be deficient in three of these major vitamins and minerals, which leads to fatigue and other symptoms. So once I started supplementing all of the nutrients in my diet, I started feeling better. It just took like 3 weeks and I already had like my energy levels were boosting along with the change in the diet and the supplements. I could see a change within like 3 weeks. So that was like my next step. And the third, of course, was to focus on my gut health and liver detox.
Mm.
which is like the next step of, healing your thyroid and balancing your hormones. And the other thing I did was also tested for heavy metal toxicity, because a lot of people can have toxins in their body, which could be one of the root causes of thyroid disorders or Hashimoto's in that, or any autoimmune disorder in that case. So I tested for toxicities, and I didn't have much, but my functional medicine practitioner did recommend a detox regime. And I went through that, and my antibodies dropped considerably. And one of the ways I detox was through infrared sauna. It's really good. And infrared sauna,
Oh, really?
sauna, yes,
How did
that's
you?
a very good. It's a very good way of pulling out all the toxins from the cellular level. And I highly recommend infrared saunas to those struggling with thyroid issues, especially Hashimoto's. I've seen a lot of people benefit from it, and I've seen their antibodies come down considerably after consistent usage.
Hmm. So how did you get like a doctor to do all of these tests, micronutrient tests, thyroid tests, and was the infrared sauna included in the doctor?
So I went to a functional medicine
Oh, functional
nutritionist, a
medicine.
doctor. Yeah. So they're the only people who actually see the benefit in running all of this. And that's how I was introduced to functional medicine. And then I went on to study functional medicine and specialize in that, because I saw that this is exactly what we need in modern day medicine, right? Which that's what modern day medicine is lacking. Because in functional medicine, we ask the question, why there is a disease in the body? Why do you have the symptom? Not just treat the symptom, but actually look at the root cause, the underlying cause. And that's why my healthcare practitioner ran all of these tests, and then we figured out so many of these root causes, and I was able to bring my thyroid and Hashimoto's into remission. But mine took quite a long time. It took almost like 5 years for my antibodies to come down completely. But I've seen a lot of people who've like had complete remission in like 6 months to 8 months. So anything is possible.
Wow, I'm still in awe of the infrared sauna. What makes it different from a sauna, the normal sauna? Like, how does it
The
affect?
steam sauna.
Yeah,
Well, infrared light, there is like a difference. Like you have the near infrared, then you have the far infrared. So they are known to, penetrate deeper into the cellular levels and increase the body heat and sweat out all the toxins. Whereas your steam sauna doesn't do that. So infrared light is really helpful in that. So you can get a portable infrared sauna if you want to add it to your detox on a daily basis, or you can visit any of the saunas, the regular infrared saunas. I think there are quite a few places that offer it. So that's like one of the major things that helped me in healing my thyroid. And of course, along with that, doing your regular liver detox, I added in a lot of herbs and spices to help detox my body and fixing my gut health. Of course, I used to struggle with a lot of constipation, which again accumulates toxins in the body. So fixing all of this was quite helpful. And in addition to that, I also, of course, focused on my sleep and reducing stress, because stress is a major factor that affects your thyroid. I have seen clients where I've been tracking their labs and everything was going well, and antibodies were reducing, TSH improving. And then suddenly, after like 3 weeks, I see everything shot up and I ask them what happened. They went through like a really stressful time, either in their work or their personal life, and nothing else changed with their diet or lifestyle. It was just the stress. And stress can spike up your antibodies and affect your thyroid gland. majorly. So you could be doing everything right with your diet, but if you're not taking care of your stress, your sleep, exercise, self care, it can still mess up your thyroid or your hormones.
Yeah, that's really powerful. So, how much sleep is enough sleep, do you think, which is beneficial for your thyroid? And it won't.
I would say 7 to 9 hours. But then if you are waking up after 9 hours of sleep and you're still feeling tired and fatigued and as if you haven't slept at all, then it's really not the duration, but it's the quality of sleep you need to focus on. So getting good quality sleep wherein you're getting enough, you're spending enough time in the deep sleep phase, that's really important because sleep is where our body focuses on healing, on DNA repair, and balancing blood sugar and metabolism. It impacts everything, including gut health and thyroid. So more than the duration, I would focus on improving sleep quality. So I would do things like a warm bath before going to sleep and having some herbal teas like chamomile or lavender that would
Sounds
promote
nice.
sleep. Yeah. And the most important thing, staying away from blue light after sunset. Blue light can affect your cortisol and melatonin hormones, and it can mess with your sleep patterns. So I would stay away from gadgets like 1 hour before bedtime, no exposure to blue light, have very dim lights at home, and sleep in a dark room. So all of these things, when I started implementing on a regular basis, I noticed that my sleep quality was better and I would wake up naturally without an alarm and feeling really refreshed and feeling well rested. So focusing on that is super important because lack of good quality sleep is again stress for your body, and that stress triggers your thyroid.
That's really powerful. That's amazing. So, I'm aware of the time, Pratima. You're just a wealth of knowledge about so many things. But just to wrap up, if there's one thing you can just give, one piece of advice you can give to people who are struggling with binge eating or disordered eating habits, like binging, restricting, overeating, they don't have regular meal schedule. What's that one piece of advice you'd give to improve your hormone health, hormone profile?
Um, I would say, first of all, restriction is going to make you want to eat everything that you're trying to restrict. That's just human psychology. Because if anybody tells you don't do something, don't have something, even if that person is you telling yourself,
Yeah.
you are going to want to eat that. So trying to include everything, like everything should be a part of your menu, but then it all comes down to choice. So I would say understanding that psychology is the mindset part of it. But if you are trying to work on changing the diet, I would say take it slow and start by changing just your breakfast, just one meal of the day. And that's what I would advise people, especially those who are not used to eating breakfast and skipping breakfast. Start by making changes to just one meal of your day. Start with a high protein breakfast. And then when you feel comfortable with that, then start adding the next meal and then the snack and then the dinner. Yeah. So making these small changes, what we call as atomic habits,
Mm.
that's what is going to help you recover in the long run. And I would say have at least 1 or 2 days in a week where you can eat the things that, that are considered inflammatory, but you can still enjoy it. That way you're not restricting completely. That's very important. So I follow the 80-20 rule,
Mm.
wherein 80% of the time I'm eating healthy. 20% of the time I allow myself to enjoy things, even if they are inflammatory, whether it's French fries or pizzas or whatever. I still enjoy them, but I keep it to the times like when I'm traveling and when I have parties or occasions, so that I get to enjoy. And then the rest of the days, I'm eating healthy. So that way, nothing is off my plate. So when nothing is off your plate and everything is allowed, you won't really feel like, oh, I'm restricting and I really want that. So that's like my major piece of advice. And if you actually make the changes where you're adding a lot of protein and healthy fats and carbs in your meal and you're balancing it, you will notice that your body will stop craving for
Mhm.
all of the processed and junk foods automatically, because your blood sugar is balanced, because your body is getting the nutrition it needs, because your gut microbiome is healthy. Because most of the times, the cravings, the need to binge is not coming from your head, it's coming from your gut. Your gut microbiome influence your taste in food. And I've seen this in many people. When they heal their gut, their food choices, the kind of foods that they like completely changes. It influences your taste buds. So by actually focusing on this and changing your gut microbiome, you will notice that the cravings vanish. So it's not much about willpower. It's a lot to do with the kind of gut microbiome you have. So focus on that and things will be very easy to change.
That's amazing. That's everything I support people struggling with binge eating. I recommend just everything you just said there. That was a really perfect answer. Not that there's a wrong or right, but like it's all about like those atomic habits, or like in our dietetic field, we call it SMART goals. If you've heard of it,
Yeah,
yeah, like
absolutely.
realistic
Yeah.
goals. That's amazing.
It's like if you can't really make changes to the diet, I would say at least make changes to the timings. Try to get into what we call as a circadian rhythm. You
Yeah.
don't even have to change your diet first. Just eat your meals on time. Like eat your breakfast on time, and then space your meals out and ensure that you're eating an early dinner by like 6 or 7 p.m. by sunset, and allow your body to fast for 12 hours from dinner to the next morning breakfast. And just doing that can bring a whole lot of changes in your body. You are not changing anything with your diet, but you're just changing the timings and you're aligning your body with circadian rhythm and you're fasting for 12 hours from dinner to breakfast. Just that can change a lot. And then you take the next step of changing your breakfast and your lunch and dinner and so on. So, one step at a time. You don't have to look at the end goal that, oh my God, I need to heal my thyroid, I need to heal my autoimmune, or I have menstrual disorders, or I have this big problem, PCOS and stuff. You just have to see, okay, I just need to make one change this week. And that's all I'm going to do. Just focus on that. And then, it's like how we call it's like eating an elephant. You don't look at the elephant as a whole. You're going to break up the task and you're just going to look at what is the task I need to focus on today. I'll just eat one part of the leg. I'm just going to focus on one part of it.
I hope that's a
And
metaphor.
that's a metaphor for sure.
Sure. I'm just thinking like, do you actually eat elephants?
No way. I'm a
Okay.
vegetarian, by the way.
No, just joking. No, that's right.
I know.
Yeah, that's amazing, Pratima. And it easily shows that you're very holistic in the way you think about gut health, hormone health, sleep, stress, so many things. If people want to work with you, where can they find you or follow you?
So I'm on Instagram, Pratima_Nagaraj, my name. And that's where I hang out on a daily basis, sharing about thyroid, gut, and hormones. And I'm also reachable through my website, which is pratimanagaraj.com. So you can reach me either through social media or my website.
It's amazing. And I'll link all of Pratima's links to the link in the description of this podcast. And Pratima, there's this little ritual I do at the end of my podcast. So the previous guest would ask a question for the current guest, which is you. Previous guest was Hannah, and she was talking about her anorexia and everything else. So the question she wanted to ask you was, what is one thing that made you smile today?
Hmm. Oh, it was playing with my dog.
Oh,
I have a 2-year-old puppy, and oh my God, he gives me so much joy. And no matter how stressed I am, what's going on in my life, I just have to look at him or play with him. And then I have all my happiness back. Like there
oh,
was no stress at all. So that's what made me smile today
oh,
and every single day.
what breed is he?
He's a Maltipoo, a Maltese and a Poodle mix.
Oh. And do you think having a dog improves your hormone profile?
Absolutely. They flood your body with endorphins and oxytocin, which is a great way to de stress your body. And, the interesting fact those who have had pets as kids, they have better gut microbiome. So
Oh,
you should always,
wow.
let children play with pets. Having a pet is a great way to support your gut. You will have a stronger gut, healthier gut if you have pets at home because they contribute gut bacteria through your interactions, and it helps in increasing the variety of your gut microbiome. So playing with dirt and mud and grounding yourself, like going to the beach and playing on sand, and playing with pets, these are great ways to actually enhance your gut health.
And with the pets, um, is it because you're having these endorphins, or is it because you're exposed to like being a bit messy around them with mud and everything? Like dogs like to go outside and lick you and stuff like that.
So the first one, the endorphins and oxytocin kind of helps in balancing your adrenals and your stress hormones and your, in general, all your hormones in the body because they're kind of acting like a natural stress relief, and it helps in reducing inflammation because your emotions impact your body and you're happy, and that translates into better physical health. And the messy part of it kind of contributes to better gut microbiome because they're introducing different bacteria, because bacteria lives on our skin, it lives in our body, it's like literally everywhere. We are run by bacteria, and when you're exposed to a variety of these bacteria, it kind of improves the variety of your own gut microbiome. And we know that now research indicates that you need to maintain a variety of gut microbiome for better gut health. It's not just the quantity, it's not just the amount, but you need the variety in the different species of bacteria, virus, combination. So that's where pets come in. And I've noticed that my gut is even better. So he's 2 years old, and we got him when he was 4 months. And in the past 2 years, I've noticed my gut has become even stronger.
Wow, that's why people who are listening to the podcast get a pet like a dog instead of a fish because it's likely to improve your hormones.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it can also help people who have disordered eating or binge eating, because I'm not an expert on that, but I'm sure there's a lot of emotional factors,
Yeah,
leading to disordered eating.
yeah.
So if you have something like a pet that is catering to your emotions, it's increasing the happiness quotient in your life, you naturally feel like eating more and taking care of your body, and you're in a better emotional state. So I'm guessing that's also going to help people
Sure.
who have eating disorders. Yeah.
Sure, it will. That's really interesting. Thanks so much, Fatima. And just so we can pass it on to the next guest. So, what question would you want to ask for the next guest to answer? It could be something really deep, or it could be something as simple as what's your favorite animal or favorite pet or something.
Oh my God. Okay, I really need
Coming.
to think about this. This is like something that I didn't expect. What would I ask? So, what are some of the questions? Give me some pointers because I'm like drawing a blank. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, some people have asked, what are 3 things you're grateful to have in your life? And another one asks, what's one thing that made you smile today? Which is the other one. It could be literally anything.
Okay, so here's one thing. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned in your life?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I'll be asking that to the next guest.
Okay, awesome. I can't wait to hear and see what they're going to,
Yeah.
answer to that. That'll be interesting
Yeah.
because, if someone had asked me that, I think I would have a long list and it would be difficult to choose because, oh my God, it's been a, it's been a ride, learning so much in my life. But yeah, so what's the biggest lesson? Or maybe 2 lessons if they want to say 2 or 3.
Okay, I'll answer them that. Anyway, thanks so much
Awesome.
for coming along. And I really enjoyed having you against you. Just so jolly, jubbly, but at the same time full of like knowledge about everything. Very holistic answers. Holistic health coach and also holistic answers.
No, thank you so much. And it was truly a pleasure chatting with you too. And I would echo the same. It's like, you're so joyful and so lively to chat with. And I had a blast, chatting with you. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks so much, Pratima. Struggling with binge eating? Gain access to my exclusive self-paced binge eating freedom course found in the link in the description of this podcast. My course is everything I wish I knew when I struggled with binge eating, but it's all wrapped up into one easy to understand platform. You'll finally learn how to put an end to binge eating and put an end to food dictating everything you do, controlling your life. Access it now in the link in the description of this podcast.